Hello, Toy Collector fans. Universal Toy Collector here, and welcome to the channel. And welcome to another episode of My Collecting Life, the series where I get to speak to you, members of the toy collecting community, about your own personal collections, finding out what got you into collecting in the first place, and what gives you that toy collecting buzz. So who is the guest on this week's episode then? Well, why don't we find out? Let's take a look at some of his collection in a musical montage. Okay, so yet again, we've got some real fantastic pieces in the collection. And what I'm loving about these photos is the photography. It is a pleasure to welcome to the channel for the first time, Josh. Hello, sir. Welcome to the
Hello.
channel, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No, an absolute pleasure. This is the first time we've actually got to meet and speak. So I really appreciate you taking the time out to be part of the series. So thank you.
I'm delighted.
No, awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. So you were saying off screen that you know a bit about the series. So what I've got 10 questions for you, all about you, your collection, and anything like involving your collection. So if you're ready, we'll get started with the first question.
Okay.
Off we go then. What are your childhood memories and what toy lines were you into?
When I was a child, I was into obviously Star Wars. That was a big one, but
Okay.
I didn't have very many Star Wars figures as a kid. So most of the toy lines I had were G.I. Joe, He-Man,
Okay.
um, just random, like Battlestar Galactica stuff that I would pick up at yard sales. In fact, I didn't even have any GI Joes until I don't know how old I was, but I had saved up all my money was $10, and I got a big box of GI Joes at a yard sale, and I was
Oh wow.
yeah, that
That
was
is
that was
cool.
worth all the money I had.
So do you remember how many figures you kind of got with that bundle, or you just rough guess?
I It was a decent sized box. I would say there were probably like 35 figures in there.
Oh wow, that's a
Yeah.
fair few, isn't it? Yeah, yeah. Awesome
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah,
So
in the
that was your
80s,
first
$10
lot, like
at a yard sale was pretty extreme.
so how much? $10. Wow.
$10,
That's,
yeah.
I'd love to get 35 figures for $10 these days. Blimey O'Reilly. So that was your first sort of like interaction with G.I. Joe.
Yeah. Well, I used to watch the cartoon
Okay, yeah.
religiously, and
Yeah.
I never had any of the figures. So I used to draw them on paper and cut them out. So it was kind of like GI Joe paper dolls until I got the big find at the yard sale.
Wow. That is cool. That's cool. Did you ever read the comics? Did
Yes.
you get the comics back in
Yep.
those days? See, that was awesome. Me and a friend, we used to do that as well. We used to read the comics, and then we used to just like go and do our own missions based on what we had read on the comics, and sort of like that was so cool. That was cool. Did you have many of the vehicles at all?
I did have a few,
Hmm.
but not any of the larger ones. I had a friend who had the USS Flag, which would be incredible to
Yeah,
have. But
yeah,
this is one of those kids who didn't really appreciate things because they got whatever they wanted. And him and a
right.
buddy put it down on the creek under a bridge and just stone threw stones at it until it was busted up into pieces. That made me
No
sick.
way.
Yeah.
Oh no way! I can't believe that. I'll tell you, there's going to be people that are going to be watching this that are going to be crying at that. I
Yeah.
don't know if you know like Scuba Pete and watch the guys from G.I. Joeberg.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got some pretty impressive US flags. It's oh
Yeah.
man,
It's
so
sickening.
that's it
I've
is
been
absolutely.
stewing on that for 30 years.
Oh, did you not say anything at the time? It was like,
It
like
was
what are you
already
doing?
it was already
Oh
done. I wasn't
really?
there. I just heard
Oh
about it.
my
I was
goodness
like, "What
me!
did you ever do with the USS Flag Day?" Yeah, oh, we broke that.
Oh, they must be kicking themselves now. That's incredible. I've never heard such. Oh man,
Yeah,
that is sickening. Absolutely. So you also said you was into Master of the Universe.
yeah,
Did you have many of the figures?
yeah. In fact, there was one Christmas, and I believe it was pretty early on, Masters of the Universe. But I had the metal lunchbox in
Yeah.
school. But one Christmas, I asked for as many of the figures as I could have, and I got the full sweep.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
that's
and
cool.
as a
And one
matter
of
of fact, one thing I thought was cool is I put Moss Man in the Christmas tree, and he went
okay.
unnoticed for as long as the Christmas tree was up. I took him out before we took him down.
That is awesome. And he was flocked back then, wasn't he?
Yeah, yep. He blended
Yeah.
right in with the tree.
Did you like the flocking? Because I know certain people don't like, not too keen on the
Yes,
flocking.
I really liked
Mm.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. The other one I
that's
liked was
awesome.
Stinkor because he actually had a smell to him.
Yeah. Yeah. Does the new Stinkor from the Origins line, does he have a funny smell to him? Was it
I don't know if he does or not. I haven't really collected the new line,
okay?
so I'm not sure, but they should. That would be cool.
Absolutely, definitely. I mean, I've got a few of the figures. I did have a chance to pick Stinkor up at a like a cut price, but I didn't do that just yet. I might do in the future. We'll see. So, what were your first memories of Star Wars? Because you said that was the main one. What was your first memories of Star Wars?
I would say I didn't really. I mean, even though I'm old enough, I didn't see them in the theaters.
Okay.
The original trilogy.
Mm,
But so basically, I probably would have seen them on TV for the first time.
yeah.
Um, they used to have like the ABC Sunday night movies, and I would watch it if it came on there.
Hmm.
VCRs weren't really popular to everybody at
Yeah.
the time. Maybe
Yeah.
if you were a
Absolutely.
billionaire, but so you just watch stuff when it came on TV, and that's what I did.
Mm, awesome. And it was one of those things that you like. You obviously you enjoyed. Did so? You said you didn't have many of the figures. Do you remember which ones you had?
Well, yeah. As years went by, they once again started turning up at yard sales, and I
Mm,
started picking them up. And I have a fair bit of them at this point, but I think in the 80s, I probably had, maybe ten different figures.
mm. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I
So,
remember seeing them in the store though, and they were
yeah.
$2. And I remember asking my parents, like, can I get this? And they're like, that's $2. No way.
Oh, and kids today, when they're asking their parents for figures, they go, no, that's like $10, $15 or something like that. It's
Yeah.
crazy, isn't it? How the prices have gone up. So that was the thing back in the day, wasn't it? When we like back in the early 80s, 70s, like toy aisles were actually full of toys, weren't they? From like
Yeah.
ceiling to floor, full of toys and stuff like that. And the box art and everything like that was just absolutely
Yep.
amazing. I just absolutely loved it. So,
Yeah.
what would you say your favorite toy line was as a kid, and why? Or did it
I would
change?
I would probably say my favorite toy line um was Ninja Turtles.
Oh,
Um
okay.
reason being is because, I had collected I got the figures for Christmas, birthdays,
Hmm.
and my aunt got me the turtle blimp for my birthday
Okay.
one year,
Yeah.
and that was the end all. I mean, I was over the moon with that. So,
I'm sure.
I just loved playing with the turtles and the blimp. That was probably the one large figure or large vehicle that I had. So,
Yeah.
gravitated towards that. And of course, you mix
That's
it up. GI Joe can ride in there too.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Well, why not? That's the beauty about kids back then with the imagination they had, because we didn't have tablets and mobile phones and stuff like that.
Yeah,
We didn't have the internet. We went out and we played and used our
yeah.
imagination and stuff like
Make up
that. That's
stories.
absolutely, absolutely. So I'm assuming that you actually watched the animated series of the Turtles.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I don't think there's probably not very many kids who didn't watch that back in the 80s, 90s.
Mm.
Uh,
I've got
yeah,
to say, I was one of those kids that didn't watch that. That's one toy line I've never got into, and kind of like alluded to it last week, but I've I've started collecting. Well, not started collecting them. I've got one turtle, but it's called I think the Samurai Animals or something like that.
oh yeah,
It's like a third party. So I've got one of them, and they've got like more coming. So I think the thing is now, the trouble is you've got so many different companies making these different turtles and different toy
yeah.
lines. You've got NECA, you've got I can't remember who else does turtles. I know
Playmates
NECA,
makes
the
them again too.
Playmates, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So you've got like a lot of variations of turtles and stuff like that, and it can
it's
get
hard to
quite
keep track of
expensive.
them all.
Absolutely, absolutely. But then you can say that about any line like Star Wars. You've got the vintage collection, you've got the retro collection, you've got the Black Series.
Yeah,
Then Master of the Universe, you've got the multiverse, not multiverse. That's DC. You've got the Revelations figures,
yeah.
Masterverse. Then you've got the Origins. Yeah,
It's hard
yeah,
to keep track of everything. That's why, as I've gotten older, I've had to pare down. Otherwise, I'd be
yeah.
waist deep in figures.
Mm. Oh,
So
yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I
yeah,
think space isn't any collector's friend, is it? Because the bigger space you get, the more you get to fill it up, and then it just a vicious cycle, isn't it?
yeah.
Absolutely. So I've got a confession to make. I didn't watch any of the Turtle movies at all when they first were released. I watched the first movie, I think it was some point last year, and that's the only one I've seen. I didn't see. Is it The Secret of the Ooze, the second one?
I watched them, but I don't think I ever watched them again.
Okay, they were that good, were they? You liked them?
I mean, they're okay. They were fun in the
Yeah.
80s. I think if
How?
some of them came out today, they wouldn't go over. But
Hmm.
like you
I
said,
was going
times
to.
have changed.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I was going to ask you, how do you feel about animated series coming from like animated to live action movies? I mean, we've had Transformers, we've had GI Joe, we've had that excuse of a film called Master of the Universe, and we've got the Turtles. I mean, how do you feel about that? Do you think they should just remain animated, or are you quite happy for them to go over to live action?
I think that it's it's easy to walk the razor's edge where it could go either way.
Yeah,
They're taking an awful risk when they do it. It's either going to be very good or very bad. There's not very much room for in between with that stuff. They've got to nail it. When that whole Sonic the Hedgehog movie, when they first
mm,
released the images of the CGI Sonic the Hedgehog, the internet went nuts, and they're like,
yeah,
"That's ridiculous. He's got these skinny little eyes. He doesn't look like Sonic." So they changed it before they released the movie, and that's the same with all of them. If it's done well, recently with Star Wars, they've started coming with the recent series. They've been doing some characters that have only been seen in animation or comics. bringing
Yeah.
them to the live screen, and I think that they're doing it well. But like you said, with the He-Man movie, uh,
Wow. I mean, this is the thing. I mean, I'm with you. They've got to absolutely nail it because for me, they've got the foundations there to build on that and make it, like it was back as a cartoon, like
yeah,
the way, the look, the feel of it, and stuff like that. And I think with definitely with the He-Man movies, I know a few people like it. I don't know why, but I think they totally went off track, and it was just, what is this?
yeah,
And I think what else was it as well? Not the Michael Bay movies, the Transformers movies. I mean, oh God, I mean, that was when I first watched that, I was like, that's nothing like we watched as a kid. They don't even look like they were as a kid. Optimus doesn't look like he was. Bumblebee doesn't. And I know
yeah,
you've got to go with the times and change things, but I mean, I think they've rectified that with Bumblebee. I think that's
yeah,
so far has been the best Transformers movie for sure.
yeah. When they
But
first
look,
started, I think they made the robots too busy looking. Like it was
yeah,
hard to define any features of,
absolutely, yeah,
you just
yeah,
felt like you were looking at a heap.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it was difficult I was like, oh, okay, it wasn't there. They weren't great. I mean, even with Star Wars as well, you've got Ahsoka. They saying her tendrils were too short and stuff
Yeah,
like that. They weren't as long as they were in the cartoon, or Cad Bane's face wasn't thin enough or gaunt enough.
yeah,
And oh, come on. I mean, with the tendrils, I think it was to do with they wouldn't have looked right if they came down too far, and it would have restricted her movement or something along those lines. But
yeah.
I thought Cad Bane was fantastic. I thought he was
I
really
thought he
good.
was too. There's
Yeah,
a certain amount of artistic license that has to be taken. They couldn't translate them directly from animation to real. They have to change a little bit.
absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
it's kind of like um, with the newer Star Trek movies. Even the
Mm,
stuff that takes place before what the original series would be, they couldn't
yeah.
do the cardboard and yarn sets.
No, no, yeah,
It
I get
wouldn't
that.
go
Yeah,
over.
yeah.
You
So,
gotta
moving on to question number 3. When did you stop playing with your toys, and when did you become a collector?
I'll let you know when I stop playing with them. Um,
Oh, okay. No, I like that. I like that. I like that.
but I mean, I've been collecting basically my whole life.
Yeah.
Um, Even as a kid, I wouldn't have called myself a collector, but that's what I was doing. You know,
Mm,
searching things out and finding them, and you know, setting them up on my shelves, to display them. I was doing what I'm doing now, only it wasn't called collecting. Being a collector.
yeah.
Um,
Wow.
and even now, I do the action figure photography. That's a lot of playing around and seeing what works and
Mm.
posing 'em. It's just adult play.
Yeah, I mean, so you've just gone into one of the next questions. What got you into photography in the first place with your figures? I mean, when did the point come when you think, do you know what, I'm going to start photographing my figures and scenes and stuff like that? Were you were you into photography in the first place, and then you just thought you transfer it over to photographing your toys, or how did that come about?
Well, I was doing it even before. I've been doing it for a long time. Even when the photos were just for me.
Mm,
Um, there was no place to share this stuff, and if you did share it, there was nobody who cared.
yeah,
But the action figures came first, and then when we got more realism in the action figures, that's when I started going, yeah, I can make something cool, image wise out
mm,
of this. So that's when I started doing it. Um, and I just kind of started stepping up, with Instagram. Um, I try to step up the quality on it because people are
yeah,
seeing it now. And it's not just for me. The ones that were just for me, the definite room for improvement there. But
yeah.
uh, it's a fun hobby to have. It gives you an excuse to dust off the figures and do something creative. I love to have a creative outlet.
No, that's cool. I mean, I like that, and I've said many a time on this series and in on other channels, I've got a lot of time for people who've got an artistic talent, whether it's they can play music, whether they like do cosplay, photography, or I know you do customs as well, so we get to that in a second. But so, how long have you been actually photographing your toys, and how long do you take each session and to do a photography shot?
I would say I've probably been doing the photography for 15 years,
Wow.
give or take. Yeah, it's
Mm.
been a long time. And it was a long time where it was just for me.
Yeah.
But that's what you do when you enjoy something, you know.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Sharing my pictures is just a way to, it's just a bonus. I'd do it even if I didn't post them.
Yeah.
Um, and, you know, it depends on the time that it takes to do them. It depends. Some shots are more complex than others. Some are extremely easy.
Mm.
It just all depends on what I want to accomplish. Sometimes it's I have a figure that I want to get into a photo. Sometimes it's I have a photo that I want to do, and then I create who's in it and that type of thing.
Mm.
So it's a organic process to do that. Sometimes it's just a few minutes to get the shot.
Wow. And with sets and stuff like that, do you use your own? Do you build your sets, or do you use like natural elements? Do you go outside and take photos, or
I
do you do your
do,
build your sets?
yeah. I've done outdoors before, but most of the time I use purchased backdrops that I have, or
Okay. Yeah.
I'll use a screen behind, and
Mm.
it's much more effective. Um, you would think, well, let's say in the old days when I was taking pictures, I just set the thing in front of the screen and snap, there it is. But it's
Yeah.
more complicated than that. You've got to match the lighting with what you've got,
Yeah.
um, on the figure with what's behind it. So that's kind of a fun challenge too to try to match up what is behind the figure.
Mm.
But I've bought dioramas, and I've got crates and barrels and everything that I've got 3D printed and painted. All kinds of different stuff. I have I call it my forest. I keep it in a
Yeah.
tote, but I snipped branches and mounted magnets on the bottom, and
Oh.
then
Okay. Yeah.
I stick them down on the a metal surface. I have like a sheet of metal, stick
Yeah.
it on there, and then I put some moss in between and some
Mm.
flora and fauna, um,
Ah.
and that has a really cool effect on photography. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a lot of different trial and error things. Some things work better
Mm.
than others.
Yeah, and I suppose it's difficult outside as well, getting the right lighting and stuff like that as well, isn't it? Especially with the sun and the shade and all that sort of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. That's the bad thing about uh, taking them outside is you have very little control over the light.
Yeah.
I mean, you can shade the sun and everything, but I like to have pure darkness and then
Hmm.
build my light up from there, and then I have 100% control over
Yeah.
what's being lit and how it's lit.
Ah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I spoke to a guy called Mark Lennon or Boba Hicks on one of the earlier episodes. I think it was episode 3 that he did, and he did some toy photography, and he had this shot, and it was of aliens, and they're like with stormtroopers and stuff like that, and it was just like a purple like background and stuff like that, and it's like you got these metal bits coming down at the back, and it just looks so atmospheric. It looked absolutely fantastic,
Yeah,
and then he
there's
told me how he did it. He said he just stuck it in his wife's oven,
yeah, yeah.
got
There's
a bit
some
of light in, and it
absolutely
was just yeah,
brilliant people out there.
yeah. And I was just like, I can't believe that is your oven. And then I'm sort of like looking at the picture and going, yeah, that's just an oven, isn't it? But it was just great, the actual effect. I mean, it's just remarkable. And like I say, I've got a lot of time for people who can do this kind of thing, and they have the vision and the sight to be able to do that kind of thing. Have you ever been interested in like trying to get into filming your figures and doing animation, not animation, but stop motion or anything like that? Or is that something you've not really wanted to do?
I'm fascinated with the people who do that.
Yeah.
I follow a lot of people who do stop motion, and I love to watch them. But I think that's just more patience than I have.
Yeah. Yeah.
15 hours to get a 30-second shot.
Oh wow. Yeah, no, I no, that's I couldn't do that. Moving on, you were saying you were talking about well, you touched on customization. When did you start customizing your figures and what got you into doing that?
Well, the I remember the very first customized figure that I did, um, and it was in the 80s. I
Oh,
had R5D4, but
yeah.
all of his stickers had worn off. So he was just a blank R5D4 figure. And I didn't even copy what his actual design was. I just painted my own, silver
Mm,
and black and circuitry, I still have it somewhere, but
yeah.
eh, that was the first figure that I customized. And
Wow.
just from there, it's been trial and error, starting out there was more failures than wins, but
Mm,
as you make more and more mistakes, more of them start becoming wins. So
yeah.
that's just how it is. So
Mm,
more often now that I'm older, when I try something that I'm not sure is going to work, sometimes it works.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, it's another talent. I mean, a lot of people I've seen uh, do some customs and stuff like that, but I'm like you. I'm very short on patience when it comes to stuff like that. And I've only done one kind of, well, I say I've done two customs. I did a cross between shipwreck and cutter. So I had shipwrecks like legs and his arms and his head, but I had cutter's body with the yellow with the orange life vest. But
Yeah.
the thing is with that, cutter had a different kind of head that went into his body. You know the head mold.
Yep.
Yeah, he had a different like designed head to what Shipwreck did, because Shipwreck you could move the neck and the head down slightly, a little like a ball joint. This one was just like a nub thing which just spun around. So yeah, I had to sort of like chisel all that away and get that sorted out. But that wasn't too bad. And then I did an Aura Sing, so I got a figure, Black Series One, and she's in an orange garb, and I've just basically painted everything that was orange black. And I did a look from out of one of the Clone Wars episodes, but I didn't do her eyes though because that was just yeah, that was. By that time I got proper fed up, and I was like, oh, I can't do anymore. So I've not gone back
Well,
to it.
I'll tell you what I use
Oh,
is
okay,
these. They've got a
okay,
light built in, and
awesome.
you can see as little as you want to see. You just hold it a little closer. Um,
Yeah,
but that's the one thing that I do have patience for is painting and customs, and
okay,
I really enjoy doing the minutia on that stuff just
yeah,
to make it
yeah.
perfect. Um, so that I do enjoy that. I do have the patience for that, where some people may not. But
Would you
um,
would you call that therapeutic?
yeah, absolutely, yeah,
Yeah,
because you just kind of get in a Zen mode. Um,
mm,
kind of forget everything around you while you're working on something.
yeah,
Especially the painting. I love the painting this 1/12 heads and um, the I guess the this 1/12 props and barrels, and
mm.
I love that stuff.
No, that's cool. I mean, how long would you say you spend doing that each time?
Oh, that takes a long time. Some of the stuff that I work on, uh, depending on how much it needs. Sometimes I just do a very little amount. If I get a figure and it's already pretty
Mm,
good, but it's got shiny spots in the wrong places, or not enough detail. I like everything to be as realistic as I can make it.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's as simple as hitting figures in certain places with matte spray.
Yeah.
Um, sometimes it's a complete repaint, which obviously would take the longest, but
Yeah.
sometimes it's just a few minutes of a little weathering on, if they have like a bandolier or something, I
Yeah.
want it to not just look like a chunk of plastic.
Yeah. So when you're doing that, I mean, if it was me, I'd be sitting there painting him and be doing them, thinking, why the bloody hell can't the toy companies do this? Why have I, that's what I would be thinking myself. I mean, do you ever think that? Do you think that the toy lines could go a bit deeper into weathering and making them look more realistic, or are you happy to just get on and do it?
I'm happy when they have a good sculpt
Yeah.
because the way I look at it, if they went through all of the hassle of weathering and the correct paints and detail, they would be a lot more expensive. So
Yeah.
if
Good
they
point.
want to
Yeah.
release, a figure for 20 some dollars and I'll do the details, I'm fine with that.
So what you're doing then, basically, you're just buying a figure, then you're just improving it with either a complete overhaul of a paint job, or just adding some
Yeah.
touches to it, like a bit of weathering. And wow, that's absolutely awesome. I mean, going back to your photography and stuff like that, and doing your dioramas, I've just recently got myself the Endor bunker, the 40th anniversary Return of the Jedi bunker,
Yeah.
and I want to do a little scene with that. And I was gone to the hobby shop today just to have a look around and stuff like that. And I've got this image in my head of what I want to do, but then I know that if I get this, and this, I'm going to get to it, and I'm going to go, yeah, no, I shouldn't have got that. I shouldn't have got this. So I've been like looking up on YouTube and stuff like that just to see how people do that. And then there's one guy that I've watched tonight, and he just did a total repaint of the bunker. He's just made it look like it looked in the film with the weathering and stuff like that, and all the it there are some absolutely talented people out there.
Yeah.
There really are, and it is so good to see. And I think the thing that gets, I'd say, puts me off, the thing that I'm wary about is if I've spent money on something and then I go and paint it and ruin it. I'm like, I've just ruined that. Look at that. I can't display that now, and I'd be quite annoyed with myself. And
Well, I used to feel the same way. I used to be an inbox collector for many years.
okay,
Um, but when I started to getting into the photography and the customs more,
hmm,
I started taking them out. I thought, what good is it to have them if I can't utilize them, display them,
yeah,
photograph them? Um, and the thing about that is I even when I started opening them, I thought I don't want to ruin this by painting on it. What if I mess it up? So what I did actually at first, I would only buy Chinese knockoffs
yeah,
to paint. I would get Boba Fett and work on him, or another Chinese knockoff and work on them. And I thought if I
yeah,
ruin these, no big deal. It's not
yeah.
even an official thing. And once I got good at that, I could build up the confidence to just start doing it to the legit figures.
Awesome. So, what scale do you do? Do you do 3 3/4? Do you do 6 inch or 12 inch?
I generally do the 6 inch because
Okay.
I like the level of detail that I can get at that. That's the smallest that I feel I can get a good level of detail. However,
Yeah.
I did do, and I have several more to do of different characters, but I don't know if you've seen the uh, micro micronauts.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard of them. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I know
they
them.
3D
Yeah.
print and they design and 3D print figures. And
Okay.
I got a Boba Fett who's probably an inch tall, and
Yeah.
I took a long time to, I painted him up as best as I could in his face, and he turned out pretty good. I'm sure
Wow.
if you had a put a lens right close to him, you'd
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
some detail difference, but from a decent distance, they do such a good figure as
Mm.
long as you're staying, coloring in the lines,
Yeah.
it looks fantastic.
Oh, that's
But
incredible.
generally, the 6-inch line is what I
Yeah.
do.
Did you have any influences with your photography and your customs? Did you watch people on YouTube, or did you see other people do it, like friends or whatnot? I mean,
When I
or did you
started
just
to
off your own
try
back?
to step up my game, um,
Mm.
I started watching. I started looking up and watching YouTube videos on photography,
Yeah.
but I really wasn't finding what I was looking for. Everything was about
Yeah.
a human person in the room, and you're a working photographer.
Okay.
And it doesn't line up with action figure photography.
Mm.
So I discovered instead, I went and did a deep dive on cinema lighting. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, I did. It was my research for a while to study, lighting in cinema. And so
Mm.
that's what I pay attention in movies and see how it looks.
Mm.
And that's really what kind of inspired the way that I do my action figure photography.
Yeah.
Because it would look totally different if I was, trying to do a portrait, in a
Yeah.
studio versus I'm
Mm.
trying to make a movie scene, basically a still frame of a movie scene.
Yeah. No, I like that. And do you do any Star Trek ones, the original series Star Trek ones? Because
Yes.
there's a lot of lighting in there where it was quite dark, and you just had the light across Captain Kirk's eyes,
Yeah.
and that was a classic one, wasn't it? But yeah,
Yeah. I would do a whole lot more Star Trek, but the availability of figures is
yeah, yeah.
it's
I
tough.
guess.
That you can get the Playmates ones, but like I
Yeah,
said, I like that level of realism, and
yeah.
they're not on par. I loved them. I collected them, but
Mm,
they're just not photogenic. So
mm.
Diamond Select is a little closer. Um,
Yeah,
so I would do a lot more of it if they were
yeah,
releasing their own Black Series of figures.
yeah. No, no, quality, awesome stuff. I love that kind of stuff. I think I really do like that. But moving on, what toy lines do you currently collect?
Well, with so many releases, it's really hard to keep up with everything.
Yeah,
But I, unless something comes out that is just strikes me as fantastic,
yeah,
I do Star Wars Black Series. I do get the vintage collection. I like to
yeah.
slip those in once in a while because
Mm,
oftentimes, either because of the background or the figure itself, there's things that you
yeah.
can do in photography with the smaller scale that you can't get in the larger scale.
Yeah.
Sometimes I mix it up.
Mm.
If I might have a 6-inch figure up close with a smaller scale figure in the back to kind
Okay.
of cheat that distance.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so
Awesome.
yeah, um, I collect the Star Wars. I do have the Star Trek figures. Like I said,
Mm.
I don't really photograph them very often. But
Yeah.
and then there's some one offs that I have. I have King Kong. I
Okay.
have Sheriff Hopper from Stranger Things.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh, if just stuff that if it strikes my eye, I'm like, that's a good looking figure. I need that.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, what about the Masterverse? Not Masterverse. Yes, it is Masterverse. Master of the Universe. The Revelations figures. I mean, I think they display so well, and they look absolutely fantastic. And I mean, a, for me, a big draw of figures is the actual box art itself.
Yeah,
Whether it's, I mean, and I think He-Man or Master of the Universe, well, no matter what line it's always been in, that box art or packaging has always really stood out with the colors are so vibrant, and it just looks absolutely fantastic. And I think that's got to be probably some of the best box art
yeah.
I think I've. Yeah, I really like that.
I think I would have them if I had unlimited money and space.
Yeah, that's the issue, isn't
Um,
it? Yeah.
but yeah, but I kind of concentrate on certain things. The only um, Masters of the Universe that I have right now is the one that they came out with, the He-Man, that looked like the classic toy, but with more articulation.
The
Because I thought
Origins,
that
is it the Origins line?
I think so, yeah. But
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just think that's fantastic. It
yeah,
used to be they just, that was all you could
yeah.
do. But now
That's it.
he looks the
Yeah,
same, but yeah, I thought that was
yeah.
really cool when they did that. So I did pick
I
one
do
of
like
those
those.
up.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you watch any of the modern day animated series? Like they had the Transformers War for Cybertron a couple of years back. That was quite dark, and then they had Master of the Universe Revelations, and there was all the big hoo ha about that. I mean, did you watch those two series at all? What did you
I
think?
did, yeah. I did watch
Yeah.
both of those. Uh, I haven't rewatched them, but I did watch them
Mm,
initially because obviously they were two big things in my childhood.
yeah.
Um, and I enjoyed them. I thought they were pretty good.
Yeah.
Um,
The animation I thought was I really liked the animation for both
yeah,
series. I really did. I thought there was a lot of positives. I mean, I know, like, say, people were moaning about this, that, and the other about certain bits and bobs. We won't get too much into that, but you know, even if you don't like what it represents, I can still appreciate the figures. I can still appreciate the style of the animation and the look of it. I mean, and it's the same with the Transformers. I mean, so what if it wasn't the original guys that did the original voices back in the
yeah,
80s? I mean, they can't go on forever. Do you know what I mean? It's
right, yeah.
you know, it's one of those things, isn't it? Moving on. Do you have a sentimental or a most prized piece in your collection?
Oh, that's tough. I have a lot of sentimental pieces in my collection, but not as many as I would like to have. I
Yeah,
Years ago, um, in I lived in a different town. Had a break in, and a lot of my stuff that was treasured was stolen. So
oh
that was a kick in the
yeah,
gut.
absolutely.
But I still have a few things that I've held on to over the years. My uh, vintage Jabba the Hutt.
Okay, yeah,
One of the photos that I had
yeah,
taken. That's the original Jabba the Hutt that I had.
wow,
I have a lot of my vintage Star Wars figures still.
yeah,
Um, I have a lot more than I included in the photo. Quite a few of them. So those are special to me, and also the Mego Star Trek bridge set. Um,
oh yeah, okay,
I
yeah,
That to me, it hits me in the feels.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I just love that thing to death. That vintage style I really like.
yeah, yeah, because that was the Next Generation one you've got, wasn't it? Was it the Next Generation one?
No, no, that's the vintage
No,
one. Yeah,
the vintage one.
yeah,
Oh, the original series.
yeah, yep. The Mego one with
Oh, okay.
Captain Kirk, and all the colors are wrong, and plastic bridge chairs, and it looks terrible, but I love it. It's
Because
just how things
they
were done back then.
because they did another one, didn't they? Did they do a more updated one?
Well, they did a re-release of that one,
Yeah.
like the vintage. I don't know if it's exactly the same, but they also did Playmates did, and I used to have it, and that's one of the things that was stolen years ago. The Playmates Next Generation Bridge. And it was scaled down a little bit. So when you set the figures in there,
Mm,
the scale doesn't work, but it's extremely cool,
yeah.
to have that
Because
type of play set back then.
I had a bridge set for the original figures. I mean, it come with Kirk, Spock, Bones, Uhura, Scotty, Chekhov, and Sulu. It came with those figures, and then the bridge was actually part of the box was part of the display.
Oh yeah, I had that too. It was the
Ju-
box was the bridge, so it had like a
Yeah,
two-tiered figures down here and figures up here.
that's it. Yeah,
Yeah,
I had that. All I've got left are the figures. I, in my stupidity, I got rid of the box.
yeah, yeah.
I'm
I'm sure there's
absolutely
not a lot of those boxes around.
no. I'm absolutely gutted that I got rid of that. I really am. The things you'd get rid of when you were a kid, and you just well, I wasn't even a kid. I was probably about 14, 15 at the time. So
Yeah, you
yeah,
don't think about that stuff.
no, I know, and and I did, and I thought, well, I can do my own sort of display thing. So I got like a wooden shelf, and it was like a corner piece, but it was like so it was like that, and then it was kind of like rounded, like a quarter of a
Yeah,
circle. And I put some green felt underneath it, and I put some light blue felt on the top. And what I'd done is I got the stands that they come with the because the stands were like the bridge badge or the badge on
yep.
the shirt, and I've glued them,
Oh no.
and yeah, I'm just oh yeah, I'm like gutted. And it was funny because I've not seen one of those bridge sets for like for years.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
last year we was out in Florida, and there was like top of iDrive. They had this like sort of like it's like a little convention thing. It's just people going and take buying stuff and what have you and whatever.
oh
There's no
yeah,
one
yeah.
there doing signings or anything like that. And there's this bridge set. There was this Enterprise bridge set, and I was like, God, I had that. I didn't get it because I wouldn't have been able to get it in the suitcase on the way back. And if I had have done,
Oh.
it would have got damaged. So I just thought I won't get it. But yeah, I'm just so annoyed with myself. So annoyed for doing that. And
I
so do you have? Sorry, go on.
oh, I was just gonna say I had the AMT bridge model set when I was, I don't know, 12, 13, and I
Mm,
built it without painting it or anything. I was just too impatient. And as I looked at it, I thought, "Ah, I wish I would have done it better." So I bought
yeah.
another one, and I took,
Okay.
this is before the internet, so I used magazines and to
Mm,
try to get all the details right. And I did, the difference between shiny black and flat black and every little detail I tried to fit in there. And that sat on my shelf for probably a month, and I accidentally knocked it down and it split into a billion pieces.
no way. Oh God. Do you know what that reminds me of? Like you build a puzzle and you've got one piece left, and you put it and the table collapses and everything. You just go, do you know what I mean? Or you build a Lego set and you just put it up on display and it just comes down and you just think, oh
Yep, there it goes.
yeah, that has got to be so heartbreaking, and that's just got to be like, no way, no way. Um, do you have a Grail piece? There's a piece that you would like in your collection, and you think, do you know what? I'll spend a bit of money on that. You know what? I don't care. I'll spend a bit of money on that because I want that in my collection.
I have, there's a bit of a double-sided coin. Um, I almost, I love the look of the Hot Toys.
Mm,
Um, the realism and how fantastic they look.
yeah.
But I almost think taking photos of them is too easy. Because I mean, you could just throw them
Okay.
on the table and take a picture, and it looks great.
Yeah, yeah.
There's not enough
True. Yeah.
challenge for me.
Yeah.
But the A New Hope Hot Toys Chewbacca. Oh,
Okay.
he is beautiful.
Okay. I've never seen that one. I'm gonna have to look him
Like
up after
he,
this.
the real hair, and
Okay.
there's a Force Awaken one who doesn't look as good.
Okay.
It's A New Hope Chewbacca that he just, oh, chef's kiss.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow. I'm
he's
gonna have to look that up. I didn't realize he did a Hot Toys Chewy.
yeah, he's beautiful.
Yeah.
He comes with a little comb, and you can
Okay.
style, so he's not just a big
Yeah.
fuzzball. He slick his hair back and make sure he's
Yeah.
got his hair straight.
So how much are they asking for him?
That's the problem.
There you go. Yeah.
Hot Toys, they usually run 225, 275,
Mm.
depending on what you're getting.
Yeah.
But he's not for sale from Hot Toys anymore. The aftermarket,
No,
$400-$500.
that's the
Yeah,
thing.
and that's
The,
just
the yeah, the secondaries, the secondary market prices, they can sting like a bitch.
yeah.
I see. I don't know if you heard the story about the my sail barge.
No, I
So,
haven't.
so basically, the sail barge was a HasLab project, wasn't it?
Yeah,
And it was only offered to those of you in the US. It wasn't offered worldwide. There was a select few, I hear, that managed to get it from the UK via a store on eBay, which then managed to get them the barge. So I got the barge secondary market, eBay. The only place that I could get it or where it was being sold on eBay was from the United States. So of course I thought, well, okay, so the asking price was practically double what it was going for originally. So I thought,
yeah.
well, secondary market prices. So I thought, I'll have that. So I press click. Yep, I'll buy that. Blah blah blah. Then it come up with shipping cost,
Oh,
import tax. Let me tell you, my wife only found out a few weeks ago how much that actually costs, and I've had it since 2021 or 2020. Yeah. Yeah, it was a lot of money, let's put it that way. And that's the thing about the secondary market. I mean,
yeah.
my God bless her. But she well, she was very good about it. So yeah, it was
There
a
have been
lot
times
of
when I've
money.
been desperate for something,
Mm,
and I'll pay secondary prices, but generally, unless it's something that's a little older, when something sells out and immediately they want three times as the money for it, I don't like
yeah.
supporting people who are doing that.
No, no. I mean, I got the Sky Striker, HasLab Sky Striker GI Joe, and I thought, yeah, okay, that's great. And then I did a video on it, and then someone messaged me and said, "Oh yeah, yeah, I've got the Sky Striker and stuff like that. I bought 5 of them, so I'm looking to make a profit on the other 4." And I'm like, "What do I say to that?" So I didn't reply. I mean, what do you say?
Yeah,
Well done, sir. Good for you. But no,
yeah,
I didn't say anything. I just thought, well, I'm not going to reply to that. It's crazy.
yeah.
But
Oftentimes,
the thing,
there's a figure that I couldn't get, and you look on Facebook or Instagram, and somebody takes a picture of the 10 they bought.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's listen. I can understand people army building. I get that. I mean, I've done it.
Yeah,
I'm guilty of doing it myself. You know, I've got one more than a couple of figures, and I did army build those. And I get that, but it's what I don't like is when they buy stuff and they then try and sell it for double, triple the price. But what really annoys me is the fact that there was a point where I used to get things straight away because I knew that if I didn't get them, they would go on a secondary market. So I'd be paying even more for them. So I'd get them straight away at full price. And then I'd see them 3 or 4 months later on the same website or in the stores at a reduced price. I'm just thinking, do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
you lose out there as well. You just so as is at the moment, I just get figures as and when, and I'll wait for them to either get reduced or if it's a figure that I really want and think, yeah, okay, I'd get it. But
yeah.
yeah, it's just
Well, like
crazy, isn't it?
I live in a rural area, um, so we don't have very many options as far as big box stores.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, if I can't get it online, I can't get it.
Wow. Well, and it used to be back in like we're talking about back in the 80s, or we could go into a store and
Yeah,
there'd be floor to
make
ceiling
a
full
trip
of
to the mall and stop
yeah,
at 7 stores that day.
yeah, it's crazy. And well, that's just times, isn't it? Times have changed, haven't they?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so I've got 2 questions left for you. We're coming up to the hour. So
Okay.
what gives you that toy collecting buzz?
Hmm. That's a tough question. I think that I don't know if I can explain it myself, but I get joy when I see certain certain figures or toys. I love props as well.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
do photography with props or anything, but I love um, like props and especially making them myself. Like the photo that I did with Ray's blaster and Han's blaster.
Yeah.
Those I did myself. I made those myself.
Oh wow.
Um, and I just love props. I also
Yeah.
have a modified Playmates phaser, and it has the LEDs so you can step up the power level.
Yeah.
For some reason, I just the step lights, the LEDs, just fill my heart with joy.
Yeah.
That just certain things that I look at and I think, oh, that must be mine.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I like that. I mean, I do, do you do you get more of a buzz going into his store and finding something that you want, or you quite happy, you know, seeing it online and thinking that's a decent price, I'll get that. What gives you the biggest buzz? Seeing it in person in a store, or seeing it for a
I
decent
think it
price
used to
online?
be finding it in person, but
Yeah.
now the dynamic has shifted over the years where I don't find a lot of things in store. One of the only
Mm.
places that I have available is Walmart, and they're
Okay.
infamous for not having figures. You know,
Yeah.
they just have the peg warmers, and that's it. So now I think you go on to do a pre-order at a certain time, and within seconds something is sold out. Well,
Oh,
if there's
yeah.
something that I really have my heart set on, I do kind of get a charge out of, oh, I got a pre-order on this.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so it over the years it kind of changed.
Yeah. Well, like say, times change and stuff like that, and how we do things have changed. Me, I would say old fashioned, but I used to love going into a toy store, seeing all that box art, and just seeing the stores full of toys. It's a shame because I've said it so many times before. You go into toy stores today, and there's not really much sort of in there at all, is there? And what there is,
Yeah.
it's not
Yep.
great. But right, last question then, Josh. What does your collection mean to you?
Well, I think that it's not the end all be all, but
Hmm.
it's just something that I can, a collection of items that I really enjoy. If it's a different thing for some people. Some people find joy in art. Some people find
Yeah,
joy in um, sports. Mine just happens to be these random collection of items that I find fascinating.
yeah,
Um, and sometimes it's not even stuff that other people would be interested in. It's purely for me. I mean, nobody ever really sees this stuff other than my family,
mm,
um, other than my toy photography. But I'm not when I'm doing the photography. There could be a custom figure that I worked on for a long time doing details, and I might
mm,
only take a picture of their bust and head.
yeah,
People don't even see the other work. It's just for
mm,
me. I enjoy it. I wouldn't do it
yeah,
if I didn't enjoy it. So,
no,
um,
absolutely. And what about your photography? What does your photography mean to you, and what does it mean to you that you're now sharing it and stuff like that? Do you get much feedback on your photography at all?
yeah, I really enjoy being able to share it. Like I said,
Mm,
for years, I just took that photography for myself. So I would do it even if other people weren't seeing it.
yeah,
But, I do enjoy that I get to share it with other people who are interested in that as well. And there are some very talented people out there. Um, it keeps you humble when, if ever I was to think I am the best, there's several people out there that will prove me wrong.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's just the way of life, isn't it? I mean, that's you say that about anything in life, but
Yep.
But oh man, Josh, that has come to the end of the chat, mate. It has been an absolute delight talking to you. I found it so interesting and fascinating, and I love the fact that you do photography and customs because, as I said before, that kind of thing. I've got a lot of time for people that can do that. That is real talent there. Just to be able to see a picture, to be able to get the lighting right, to be able to get the diorama right, and to make the pieces yourself, and then to do your customizations with the hours of painting, and whether it's a full paint or whether it's just a touch up here and there. I just love that kind of thing, and I'm happy to promote that. That's absolutely awesome, mate. So awesome stuff, and thank you so much for being
Thank you for
part of
having
this
me.
series. No, it's been an absolute pleasure. It really has. Where can people find you on social media? What social media platforms?
I have Instagram at Jarsh Jedi, JARSH Jedi. And the same thing for, I haven't done a lot with it yet, but I just recently created a Facebook for at Jarsh Jedi. I also have TikTok, same thing at Jarsh Jedi.
Okay, okay, awesome stuff. I shall leave the links to your social media platforms in the description below, so people can check your work out. So,
Thank you.
Josh, once again, thank you so much. This hour has yet again flown by. It really does go too quickly. But it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much once
And you
again.
as well. Thank
Thank
you.
you and appreciate it. All I've got left to say is, everybody, thank you for watching. Really appreciate you taking the time out. This has been Josh. Absolute fantastic conversation with Josh. So yeah, take care, stay safe, and we shall see you in the next video. And bye for now.